Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Esla's Icons and Experts. That's right, a show brought to you twice a month by our friends over at the Extended Stay Lodging Association. Make sure you check them out at esla.org. Every other week, we're either talking to an icon in our industry who helped create the modern extended stay hotel business, or experts to help you find success in our business. And we've got one of them today. We're going to be talking to Ava Kempa. She's the VP of Revenue Management over at Delasart. She's going to be joined by the chair of the Extended Stay Lodging Association, Doug Artuzio, for this great conversation. Speaking of Delasart, this show is brought to you by the great folks over at Delasart. They're providing revenue management services for more than 50 hotels right now, and not just the extended stay ones, traditional transient hotels too. And they get superior results. So we're coming into RFP and LNR season, so you don't want to miss out on a successful 2025. So let Delasart help. They got 25 years of great experience, and I know them personally. They're really great people who want nothing more than to help you find success. Please contact them for further information at delasart.com. That's delasart.com. All right, so today we're going to be covering great stuff. Revenue strategy, profit comparison, operational efficiency, market understanding, dynamic pricing, communication, diverse business sources, and value propositions. Woo! Tune in for this one. You're going to absolutely love it. Remember, check out delasart.com. Have a great show. Doug Artuzio, great to see you back here with me. I love getting to go host some of these shows with you.
Glenn, it's been great. Thank you very much for getting this information out to the entire industry.
It's been fantastic. And I love that we've been tapping into a lot of the icons out there. And we're starting to get more into doing some of these experts right now. And one of the things that I'm excited to talk to you and our special guest today about is revenue management in the extended stay market. It's one of those things, Doug, everybody thinks they know what they're doing, but they don't, because extended stay is so different. Am I right?
You're 100% right, Glenn, just 100%. It is not your normal transient style hotel at all. It's something that has to be done with strategy, with thinking financing out and how you're going to plan your revenue. Far more complicated, but the rewards are so rich, they're so great, that it is absolutely worth really understanding in a better way.
That is absolutely right. We're going to get our guest right now, but before we do that, I just want to underscore that point. The opportunities in extended stay are endless, but you must have the right revenue strategy behind it. These properties are designed to operate in a specific way, and if you go ahead and you try to capture too much transient business, it's going to mess up the whole economics of the property. So today's lessons are going to be how not to make those mistakes and create the right type of strategy. Right, Doug?
100%. And again, it's, if you take a hotel that wants a reservation with a high average rate, let's say $150 for 2 nights. You take the reservation, you make $300 in revenue, you may have $70 in cost for a $230 profit. Mm-hmm. But if you take a $90 room for 7 days, you're going to be running $530 worth of profit. So far more than double the profit on the same room availability. So we have to be very careful to meld the business together so that it fits versus peaks and valleys. It's all about a flat, great, high occupancy that drives the program.
That is right. So I just want to warn everybody, we're going to be making this point over and over and over again throughout this episode, because without following that basic tenet, everything else that we say is going to be irrelevant. So let's bring in our guest today, a specialist in making sure that revenue is perfect for extended stay hotels. And I'm talking about the VP of Revenue Management Services, Ava Kempa with Delasart Hospitality. Great to see you today. How are you?
Great to see you, Glenn and Doug. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I am absolutely excited and thrilled to be a part of it. This is my passion, and you're going to get me going. 15 years of experience is going to be a long call.
Yeah, for sure. But we're going to synthesize it down into the easy parts.
Everything was our in-house nuclear scientist, if you will. She put all the strategies together, all of the detail, all the history, everything that goes into this, that comes out with the recommendations that are so valid and really make the difference, as we talked about earlier.
That's fantastic, Ava. I feel like I know just enough to be dangerous. And our opening comments before we brought you in, I think we set the stage right. Could you just reaffirm what we've said, and then let's do a little improv, a yes and add a little bit more to what we said.
So absolutely. So thank you again for having me. I've been with Dollar Start for about 15 years now, and extended stay is our passion. This is what we are experts in. We're absolutely, if you think about any type of business to get into, now it's the right time to invest in extended stay. Extended stay, managed properly, is the answer. So when you think you know extended stay, you haven't met our revenue management yet. This is where it all happens. The magic happens behind the scene.
That's right. I think when I edit this video, I'm going to put up manage properly in big letters on screen, because that's really the secret to all of this, is the right balance and finding that right mix of business in order to really create profitability. Starting in the 30,000 foot view, Eva, what's the first thing that we need to consider when thinking about a revenue management strategy for an extended stay hotel?
We need to think of what's the most profitable percentage of that extended stay for each hotel. That's the big point of view.
And what is that?
So that would be anywhere between maybe 35% in the summer to as much as 60% in the winter season.
And this is 5 nights or more is what you're talking about there?
We consider extended stay 7+ nights at all the hotels. So any kind of guest that you have, either leisure or corporate, staying over 7 nights for us represents extended stay. So it's a 30,000 point of view is a big recipe for success, is having the right mix of that business.
Yeah, and helpful. So when we do this, we try to understand the market completely. We understand our competitors. What do they charge? We understand where the business is coming from, because finding the extended stay business also is a key factor. And I know that Jimmy Taylor had talked to this in his sales program over the last couple of weeks, but
yes, and I'd like to recommend everybody go back and watch that episode with Jimmy Taylor of IHG and Simon Mendy of Ambridge, where we really get into the sales tactics. But you can have great sales tactics, but if you don't have the right revenue level, then it's a problem. Please continue, Doug.
Yeah. Well, the only point is that understanding the market, understanding your history, your demands, so that you can, do all the toggles and switches that change reservations, close to arrival, minimum day stays, all the aspects. How much business should you have based on the season, as Eva was talking about? So it all comes together after a lot of work. I mean, it's not 5 minutes. This is hours and hours of strategy each week that get together, and we sit down, and Eva Eva, you explain the process about
exactly,
manager and the director of sales and all.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you, Doug. So the big thing is working together along with sales is critical, because we gave them guidelines. So we're like the gatekeepers of extended stay. What's the right percentage? When? What customer? What room type? What do we want to accomplish for this property? And essentially, every owner wants profits. We want them to make profits. So working with the director of sales, establishing that right amount of mix of business for extended stay, maybe sometimes saying no to certain pieces of business. Not every business, let's keep that in mind, is the right business for the hotel. Just because somebody wants to come in for 30 days, but the rate happens to be very, very low, it might not be the most profitable business. So working with that director of sales, getting the understanding of the market, getting a little bit more info from their customer is going to be essential.
Yeah, it's like putting the puzzle together, Glenn. Again, knowing all the pieces of the puzzle and knowing which ones are the outside edge and the inside, and all of the colors match. And when you get it, it's beautiful when done. Okay. And we do it every week, every day. Actually, we're changing rates throughout the entire day based on the demand and the speed on where reservations come from. So Eva, and explain, Eva, like, your team or any good management team, because this is not about Delasart, this is about revenue management in general. So any good team is going to monitor the speed of reservations. Eva, talk about how your day works when looking at properties.
Well, that's one of the best part of my job is, You start with the daily morning pricing. You figure out the market average rate. You look at the properties, available rooms. You set the strategy. The key of setting the strategy is making sure that that sells. We all can set the pricing. A lot of owners set the pricing, right? And think it's right.
I know. I'm actually trying to sell a comic book online, and it's way too high, and it keeps getting relisted because I'm not pricing it correctly.
So that's the key, Glenn, right there, is like pricing it at the right price point, knowing your availability of the room type. So what do I have left to sell? Is it my doubles? Is it my king bed? What is it that I actually have on my hands to sell? And then keep checking that consistently. I don't want to say every 30 minutes, but every hour or two, just making sure that you're selling that price point. And then if you don't, keep trying and pushing your limits. The key to the successful revenue management is not set it and forget it strategy. If there is someone out there still thinking that way, they're wrong. I will tell you they're wrong, because set it and forget it does not work for anybody.
No, although we thought it worked back at like the 70s and 80s when people would just do like seasonal rates, for example. Right, Doug?
No, I completely correct. But, by example, our extended stay properties average 92% occupancy.
Right.
Okay. That's not a mistake. Okay. But certainly good markets, but a lot of hard sales work and managing then from a revenue standpoint, all those very, again, puzzle pieces to make the best combination of what revenue it is. Because average rate, and I'll say this, please, everybody write this down. Average rate does not go into the bank.
Correct.
Okay. So since there's a different model, operating model with a smaller revenue piece, is much higher profit. And then when you can generate a lot of revenue, that's where the real good stuff happens, and the profits, just fly off the page.
Right. Yeah. And to go back to what we said a little bit earlier, it is better to take a 30-day booking at a lower rate than maybe a 3-day booking at a super high rate, because you've spent all of that time in the sales effort trying to get that one deal. It's better to only have to say, let's sell 150 rooms per month, instead of having to resell those rooms and have to sell like 500 rooms per month. It makes your job easier. And in the end, your hotel will be more profitable because you're not having to flip the room as much, and you're keeping all of your costs down and in line with the model of what an extended stay hotel has been. But Emma, I got to ask you, as extended stay is really, starting to blossom right now, we notice consumers are changing, and also that the ideas and the philosophies of revenue management have changed too. How are you trying to bring all of those together when creating that perfect revenue puzzle to create solutions for individual properties?
I love that question, Glenn. This is one of my favorites, because we all think that third-party sites are the enemy here. Well, people have spent billions of dollars on Expedia, Booking.com to make them successful, right? And we have to embrace that customer. At the end of the day, we still have to embrace every customer that comes through the door. We just need to know how to handle them and how to convert them into that loyal customer of each of our brands. We have done an outstanding job. One of the best sayings I love of our owners when they give me feedback on how the strategy has worked for them is, you guys are very personalized service, but also educational service. Everybody wants to just shut off the OTAs. So what we call them online travel agencies like Booking.com, Expedia, just shut them off completely. Well, if you think of it, Glenn, if you're driving down the road somewhere, the chances of you booking the room by calling the hotel are pretty slim nowadays, right?
Right.
So about 40 to 50% of the business gets booked on third-party channels. But once that customer gets through the door, they came up with loyalty programs just like any other brand. But once that customer gets in the door, let's wow them. Let's really ask them questions. Let's have that conversation at the front desk. Let's find out how often they're going to be coming back. What do they value about the hotel? And by doing so, you're essentially converting them to loyal customer for that specific hotel and that brand, building the relationship.
Right. Now, this is great advice for everyone but me, because personally, me, I like cutting off my nose to spite my face and make my life a lot harder. But truthfully, you are 100% right. I really don't like when hoteliers out there think that they can get around the OTAs. The fact of the matter is, one of the big boys that she just mentioned, for example, has more advertising dollars than all the major hotel brands combined and then some. So you cannot compete against them head to head, but you can leverage those opportunities smartly to fill in the gaps that you need to for revenue, and then do what Eva said, is show them so much love that they're going to become loyal to you.
Well, and the truth is, you can never sell last night's empty room. Never. Okay. Just, and 3 or 4 more rooms a day, okay, is a couple thousand rooms over the course of the year, which is a couple $100,000 at a $100 average rate that otherwise you would not be getting, So
Yeah.
it's just a different aspect, different source of business like any other source. And it is part of the strategies.
Yeah. Now, I just said a couple of minutes ago how you should really be focusing on that extended stay business and not that transient business. But if it's that last 24 hours, how should your approach be a little bit different than if you're thinking 3 to 6 months out?
Of course, in short term, I mean, you don't want to just drop the rate just for the sake of it, right? You want to understand, look at the patterns for the last several weekends or weekdays. How much business do you actually sell on any given Monday? I can tell you every day of the week, it's a different customer. And I will attest to it for all my properties. Either it's extended stay, transient, they're all different customers. They all come for different reasons to that property. But if you have the last 20 rooms, make the rate sellable. Do not hold back on, I need to get my rate at $140.
It's the biggest mistake that property owners make, because
Correct.
Now, and whether it's a brands or a third party, we'll have recommendations and the owners don't have to follow it. And if they're thinking average rate and that's the level of success, again, it doesn't work for us. It can't be put in the bank. So we drive revenue.
Right. I can't deposit at 4 in the afternoon the next day $150 I didn't get, but I could deposit the $125 I wound up getting because I moved to where the market was at that point. But Eva, should you be focused only on extended stay business in that last 24 hours? Should you be focused only on transient business? How are you thinking about that component of it in addition to the pricing strategy?
So I think of it as a really good recipe. You need all seasoning to make it work, right? So you need 5 rooms from one channel, 5 rooms from another channel. So even if you're extended stay, we don't like to turn rooms every day, but at the same time, if I can get and limit my last 5 rooms to OTA, to online travel agencies, if I can sell the last 5 rooms to walk-in business, to 800 number, if I need to put out a message that we have special or package that was created specifically for Sunday nights or Monday arrivals, you still want a little bit of everything. You're never going to get 100% of business coming from one channel. So let's make that clear, that that's like the big thing that everybody thinks about. Everything is going to come from my website. It doesn't. You have to rely on.
Set your e-stock levels correctly. You're developing compression in the transient market, which allows you to drive higher and higher average rates on those non-extended stay rooms. So blendedly, your average rates you may be third in your market, okay, an average rate, but you're number 1 in occupancy. And so your blended RevPAR index is 110, 120, and in some cases 200 times the market.
Okay. So we already established that you can't sell too many transient rooms, because then that's going to throw off the whole economics of the property. Because the whole idea behind an extended stay hotel is to keep the staffing levels lower. And that's why we're looking at 5, 7, 28-day stays, weekly housekeeping and stuff. So Emma, what's the right balance then? Again, in that last time frame, because you can't sell too many transient rooms because you won't have people to clean them. And you don't want to get into the cycle of being known as a transient hotel, because then you're going to have to hire a whole lot of staff. It won't be as profitable anymore. So what's the right mix when it's coming down to crunch time and having that perishable commodity?
Well, it's the best answer to that would be communication with the property. I can't tell you how important it is for a revenue manager to be in constant communication. This is why every property deserves the best revenue manager that will be in touch with your general manager, with the salesperson. And, you don't have to be at 100% to succeed. You can sell the last 10 rooms at $120 and you can still be very successful. But communicating with the GM and knowing how many housekeepers do they have? Like how are you going to look tomorrow morning on Monday? Are you going to have people to clean those rooms? So how many rooms can we sell? But the balance is, like I said, I would mix it, 5 rooms from different channels. There's people that still book wholesale, which is forgotten. International travel is still out there. So look into those kind of channels as well. And having that open, having, packages open. So people renting the cars, getting the room. I mean, there's so many ideas and I don't want to necessarily give away our secrets.
No, you don't want to. We want to tease them just enough. So
I'm just teasing everybody to give us a chance to see how different our revenue management is. But it is it is optimal pricing to the right customer at the right rate. But you need to understand somebody that is looking on third-party channels is not looking for that rate that you're selling on your brand website, or it might not be a loyal customer. They might just be there one time only. They might just be driving through town and they're not going to be repeated guests. So give them those few rooms, sell those rooms, right? Give the owner the profit, make the profit of those rooms. But the last few rooms, I would say, sell what you can, but communicate, over-communicate with the property.
Right, because it's very possible, depending on how many extended stays you have, Tuesday night might be the perfect night to take a lot more transients because you're already paying the housekeeper, but you don't have to do the weekly cleaning, say, till Thursday for a big chunk of the rooms or whatever it is, just making up days and stuff like that. But I think everyone gets the point. Doug?
No, you guys are absolutely correct. So the answers are there for all of us, knowing the market, knowing our customers, and taking not risks, but doing tests, in your market on how fast things fill up. So we do a number of projects all the time on trying to find that optimal method. One answer is not correct for everybody. Every hotel is different. Every market is different, but the generalities will never change when it comes to extended stay. Okay. It's about revenue, not average rate. It's about, taking care of your customer. It's not about in and out quickly and you don't get to know them. So certain aspects of extended stay drive what you should do. And Eva and her team are experts at it for almost 50 properties, all different brands.
Ooh. Yeah. It just occurred to me, you were talking about connecting with the customer and trying to get them to sign up for that property's loyalty program. And I'm thinking, usually that happens when people check in. But if you have an extended stay guest, if it doesn't work right at the beginning, you're going to form a relationship with these people over 5, 7, 28 days or more. Maybe ask them towards the end of their stay as well. They don't say yes when they first sign up. Although they should. If they're staying that many nights, I want those sweet points.
The chances are you're going to run into them throughout their stay. A lot of extended stay properties offer social hour, and that's the time for the sales team to participate with the customer, to have that conversation, to understand better their pattern of business. Is there more people coming in for extended stay? And at the same time, ask them about their stay, ask them about their loyalty, and the reason for coming in. I mean, that is your chance, is like that. There's plenty of our hotels have established great relationships that led to more business that we could ever imagine in the future.
And to bring it back to revenue management, those kind of relationships insulate you from having to fight for every dollar. People prefer to stay at places and with people they like, even if it's for a couple of more bucks a night.
I agree, Glenn. The one big thing that the whole industry have changed since, we obviously know, since 2020, one thing that changed is what people are looking for extended stay hotels is value and amenities. that became a most critical aspect of promoting your fitness center, promoting your indoor pool, outdoor pool, promoting the kitchens in the rooms. They want a living apartment. They want a luxury living apartment. And that's what the idea of extended stay properties is.
Yeah, I would do, before the pandemic, I would do it all the time. I would book extended stay hotels because they were bigger. The people were friendlier and all that. And also, a pro tip, I would do the same thing at timeshare properties in Orlando. Go and book it as a transient traveler for a week instead of buying a 4-year commitment. Doug?
Well, let me add one thought, because there are a number of different brands at different levels with different amenities and services. So you have the ESAs of this world, or the WoodSprings, that have average length of stays in excess of 30 or 60 nights, average, okay? Phenomenally profitable, although very low on the amenities level per se, because that's what their customer wants. So if you move to the stay bridges of this world, well, that particular customer is looking for more amenities. And so different customers, which is great because it's a wide base of customers. So Eva, talking about that wide base, what are some of the areas, that we look for business when, I know that we're talking revenue management, but so that people can get a quick idea of where are some neat places to look.
Whether it's extensive, well, there's definitely business out there for everybody. There's like you just mentioned, that there is construction business, and the chances are they're going to be very price sensitive, and they're going to be looking for not so much amenities as much as I want a kitchen, I want a place to sleep, get a good night rest to go back to work the next day. Then you have your traveling nurses that are still out there. They're going to be looking for a little bit more than that, but they're also going to be more economy extended stay customer than they will be of a stay bridge. And then you have those long-term people that either are renovating their house and they're really looking for apartment look like property, and stay bridges do really well with those. There's unfortunate disasters that happen in many areas of the country, and that brings it's as hard as it is to say, but it does bring a lot of business to the hotels when we come across nature-wide situations.
So there's business for all of the brands, regardless of their levels of service and things, and they all do extremely well. Again, knowing the market, knowing your customer, and then pricing it properly and sticking to the plan, and success follows you right behind you.
That is the perfect way to end this episode. Stick to the plan. Eva, before we do officially wrap up, any final thoughts?
On revenue management, revenue manager has to be a weather person, has to be basically a magician, has to be somebody. And just make sure, for all the viewers out there, challenge your revenue team, ask them the right questions. You deserve the best, and you can only get that through asking for it. Either it's us or somebody else. Just make sure you're getting what you deserve as a customer. So thank you again, Glenn. It was a pleasure to be on the call. Thank you, Doug, as always, for being my biggest cheerleader there. So thank you for that. I appreciate the time today.
Awesome. Well, thank you both. And I want to thank you all for watching. Remember, your customer out there has changed. They've become more connected with extended stay products. But you need to leverage that product to your advantage. Don't let it turn into a transient hotel. Think about that right mix of business 6 months out that's super heavy in those 28-day stays or longer. But as you get closer to that stay date, you could kind of lower those dates. And on that last thing, do what Eva said. Get a little business from here, get a little business from there, but make sure you're well connected with the property level to make sure that all the amenity and services and that housekeeping team actually make sure the property is ready to be good to go for all of those extended stay guests. And finally, just let me reemphasize, it's not about what you're charging tonight for a hotel room. It's overall the mix of revenue that's going to make the difference for you every single month. I want to thank you all for being here. Make sure you get all of our episodes. Check novacancynews.com for all the experts and icon shows. We have got some great shows there for you. I'm Glenn Houseman. We just visited with Doug Artuzio and Eva Kempa. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you right back here next time on another ESLA